We're standing here today in Castlebar, here with my mother Martina, and we're standing outside the CAMHS building in Castlebar, which is of course the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services building. And we wanted to share something with you tonight. It's unusual, it's a serious situation that has arisen, but we did feel that it's important that you know and that the public would know this particular situation and what is happening. And as I've said, this is the CAMHS building. Just up the street from us is the TUSLA building. And of course, TUSLA is the Child and Family Agency. And these organisations are funded with enormous amounts of state money. The CAMHS budget, the HSE came out last year and said they actually didn't know because there was no budget for CAMHS, but they said something in the region of 130 million euros. TUSLA is funded to the tune of 1.1 billion of taxpayers' money every year. And we know, of course, TUSLA say they're there to enhance the well-being, the safety of children. CAMHS, in the same way, would say they're there to support children with mental illnesses and problems. But there is a serious situation tonight that we just wanted to make you aware of.
Now, the situation would be that I think it's approximately 3 years ago, I was approached by a very concerned parent who had difficulties with her young son. And I'm not going into detail here too much. I'm just going to tip the iceberg here. Great difficulties. Obviously, the child was very traumatized in school, didn't fit in. No school could be found to take this child. I was contacted in 2021. That's September. We have a tuition centre in Castlebar. It's well established there. We've been there for over 25 years, I think, at this stage. And we do our best for all the young people who attend. This year we had outstanding results. And I say with humility, because I'm not proud of ourselves, but I'm very proud that I can say that those students who attended our centre, 40% of them in English and maths got H1 grades, approximately 40%. And those who struggled and came to us were over the moon, I would say, on Friday with their results. And hopefully we'll all, and I would say all, get their chosen places in the different colleges around the country. I was approached by this very concerned mother. I agreed to take the child temporarily just to see would he fit in, would he get on. It turned out it was very successful. The beautiful young person stayed with us for the full year, did his subjects, sat down, did his extracurricular activities, his sport, his reading, his competitions, played music, started the piano, even took up French. Everything was great. The situation went to court. TUSLA were involved. They never acknowledged us. I'm just skimming over the surface in this. They're supposed to take all professionals on board and ask them for their input. We were ignored. When there's an initial assessment, all professionals must be consulted. TUSLA never acknowledged us. Even though the child was happy, relaxed, doing great academically, socially, physically, every other way, everything was good. TUSLA never acknowledged us. We did not exist. They're supposed to be there for the welfare of the child. This went to court. TUSLA, social workers, educational welfare officer, all there. They promised the sun, moon and stars. They promised private SNA. They promised NEPS. All of these different services. He would get these once the child entered the school. And to this day, none of that has happened. The child was taken to school, I would say kicking and screaming to school. There's issues there. It doesn't suit him. Psychologists have written reports. They're not accepted by TUSLA, saying where he was, he should have been left. He was best there for the moment. hopefully, if that's what they want, they'll get him back into school when he's ready. No, he was taken kicking and screaming, and that's literally true, to school. Now, I'm very concerned because for 2 years he has been in isolation, he's been in a corridor, he's ran away. I'm very, very concerned that we are back in September now, 2024. What concerns me is that I was asked to take that child in here to the CAMHS building a few days ago. I met there with Dr. Harker and Dr. Roland Rice. I asked them, were they aware that this child was in a corridor for 2 years, that he hated school, that he was nervous, he's in isolation. I've never heard of it, I said. It doesn't go on. I don't think it's heard of that a child is that length. No other country in the world would tolerate this. They led me to believe they knew nothing about it. They agreed it was wrong. They led me to believe these experts, if you want to call them that, inside this building, they led me to believe they knew nothing about it. Dr. Harker, Dr. Ronan Rice, but they weren't going to discuss it anymore. I understand that. They're not going to discuss it with me. I don't expect that. But I wanted to know that they knew nothing. That's the impression I got. They don't ask any questions. So I said it's very unusual that you sit around a table with a young person, you don't know anything about them. Well, I wasn't getting any other information. They don't ask any questions from the school, from TUSLA, from any of these organisations, only what's given them. Afterwards I found out they know all about it. These people inside this building, these experts, know all about this situation for the last 2 years, and they're sitting on their hands. TUSLA, Education Welfare Officer in this town, CAMHS, huge salaries, they know all about it. And nothing has been done. I also wrote to the principal of the school where this young person is twice. I am concerned. Why are these services that they promised in court? They promised, the services were waiting. Social workers, you know who you are. You got up in court, I was there, you testified, the services were waiting. All on hand, waiting for this young person when he enters that school building. Nothing was provided. Nothing was provided. TUSLA know all about it. CAMHS know all about it. Social workers, you know all about it. And sadly, the education welfare, they all know about it. They're not doing anything about it. Last year there was a damning report about these organisations, in particular CAMHS. A damning report. Dr. Maeve Doyle came out afterwards. She said they need 2 billion. They need 2 billion. I spoke with these in here the last day. I said, we need truth here. Dr. Ronan Rice said to me, we're not talking about truth. He said, we're talking about confidentiality. We need truth. What is happening behind these closed doors? When you go to court with TUSLA, it's a closed door. Families are at the mercy of TUSLA, working together with CAMHS, with the Educational Welfare Office, with CINO, with the judges, sadly to say. And you know, when they get up and promise these things, the judges are working with them, I believe. It's a very sad day for our country. There is no hope for parents. They cannot open their mouth about what's happening, and they're living in fear. This should not be. These CAMHS here have opened schools in-house residence for traumatized children in the last few years. I think there's 4 or 5 in the country. The logo, the name they know, but how you recognize it is the rainbow flag.
Yep.
It's the LGBT flag, the transgender ideology. The lesbian, the gay, the bisexual, the transgender, the homosexual, anything you want to be. How sad for the young people of Ireland. You know, this is not, and I will reiterate this again, this is not a Christian ideology. And I would say it again, the Lord Jesus Christ said, suffer, allow the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not. Forbid them not. These organisations will not tolerate a Christian belief, I believe. If you want to foster children, you must be willing to affirm and promote LGBTQI, transgender ideology, any other ideology. It's anti-Christian. You will not get a look in. And that's the truth. And that's where we're going in this country. It's not more money they need, it's to be closed down, I believe. I'm very concerned about this child on Wednesday. Going back to a school, I am making this video tonight because I will not be responsible. I'm doing all I can. I'm not going to sit on my hands any longer. The public need to rise up and ask, why are these people in here on huge salaries not telling the truth? Why are TUSLA hiding what's going on? This child is threatening all sorts of things. He's traumatized. None of the services have been provided. And you know, TUSLA do not want to know when he's getting on well. They don't want to know.
They refused to ask those questions.
They refused to ask those questions. We spent 2 years asking them why they omitted us from inquiry. The professionals who were round about that child, why we were omitted, they couldn't give us an answer.
Flourished in that time.
They couldn't give us an answer. It was over and back, letter. There was no answer. It couldn't be answered. They put it to a third party, Mary Hardigan, a third party, a consultant outside of the system. We found out afterwards she spent 40 years working for TUSLA. An independent complaints officer. Now I think we counted 24 emails, letters over and back to Mary Hardigan, and we finally got the result. They didn't mean anything. They just for some reason made a mistake. They're sorry. They didn't recognise us. There's no answer to it. I don't know how much Mary Hardigan got for her work investigating that. That came to nothing at the end. But I do know that she worked for TUSLA before, and she was contracted by them, and her company in Dublin, Mary Hardigan, she got 1.4 million. This is what is happening. They're talking about regulating CAMHS. Don't trust these organisations. The regulator will be something like Mary Hardigan, who is one of themselves. Mary Hardigan worked for 40 years for TUSLA. Now when you've got a problem, when they won't answer your questions, they'll put you onto a third party who is really one of themselves. I'm very concerned what's going to happen with this young child, and that's why I'm publicising it tonight.